Continuing coverage of the breaking news in Fox Top Story, the report now from a South Korean news agency that the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un has canceled his meeting with the South Koreans and is threatening to cancel what would be a historic summit with President Trump. The reason? Joint military drills between the United States and South Korea. Let's get straight to Michael O'Hanlon. He's from the Brookings Institution, a senior fellow of foreign policy there. Michael, it's nice to see you.
Good to see you, Shepard.
These drills have been going on forever. The North Koreans have complained about them forever, and suddenly they're complaining about them again.
As usual, you got right to the point. The funny thing was, though, they didn't complain about them for a couple months. And in fact, when the South Korean National Security Advisor went to North Korea a few weeks ago, it was remarkable that he came back with the news that Kim Jong-un didn't mind the exercises, supposedly, and said that he understood why they had to happen, which, of course, is what we say and what we firmly believe. As long as there's a powerful military threat from North Korea, even if the atmospherics are better these days, we have to take that threat seriously. And these drills, as you say, have been going on, 2 big drills per year for a very long time. But it looked as if North Korea just wasn't going to care. That was going to be apparently a concession. Maybe they are starting to rethink their tactics. Maybe they feel like they're giving away too many concessions for free before a negotiation. Or maybe Kim Jong-un is looking for an excuse to get out of the summit altogether because he decides he doesn't like the path that he's headed on towards denuclearization. There are all sorts of possibilities.
Who says he's headed toward
denuclearization? Have to wait and
watch. Only he says that. I mean, he's already gotten a lot here, hasn't he?
Well, he's gotten a lot of diplomatic attention.
That's what I meant.
And I believe the Chinese have started to lighten up in some of their enforcement of sanctions. They're not supposed to, by the way, but they have. Otherwise, he hasn't gotten much concrete or tangible yet. He's just gotten these promises of potential rewards down the road if and when he gives up his nukes. And as you know, the Trump administration is holding a very firm line that the benefits won't really flow until all the nuclear weapons are out. I understand why President Trump would begin with that going in position. I don't think it's realistic, though, as a way to get through negotiations. So maybe what we're seeing now is Kim Jong-un starting to negotiate back before the talks even begin face to face.
What does history tell us about where we are right now? It's not as if we haven't reached this point or something similar in recent years.
Right. Well, there have been a number of summits with North Korea. Of course, the pace of these recent meetings with Secretary Pompeo and President Moon of South Korea and others has really incredibly intensified. And the promise of a summit with a U.S. president is a first-time thing, unprecedented in relations with North Korea. But we have had previous periods, the so-called sunshine policy of about 18 or 20 years ago, when South Korea really tried to be warm towards the North when Kim Jong-un's father was in power there, and that didn't work out. The South Koreans changed presidents. Kim Jong-il behaved much worse. He broke out of the nuclear agreement that he was supposed to respect at that time. The state of belligerence did not decline on the peninsula. That's the kind of thing that's happened in the past.
I want to read something we've just gotten, and this is what we've just gotten from the North Koreans. This exercise targeting us, says the North Koreans, which is being carried out across South Korea, is a flagrant challenge to Panmunjom Declaration and an international military provocation running counter to the positive political development on the Korean Peninsula. Again, that from this report that has just come out. Quoting again, the United States will also have to undertake carefully deliberations about the fate of the planned North Korea-U.S. summit in light of this provocative military ruckus jointly conducted with the South Korean authorities. Now that, suddenly and finally, sounds like North Korea again.
Yeah, although the word ruckus is pretty mild by their standards.
It is.
You usually find a little bit more colorful language. But yeah, your point well taken. I think that what we're starting to see here is maybe a little bit of buyer's remorse. The North Koreans aren't quite comfortable with all this détente, especially when it all hinges on them giving up their nuclear weapons in their entirety really fast. So I see this as a ploy in a negotiation process. I don't believe they want the summit really to be canceled, at least not yet. But they're trying to say we're not going to be quite so easy as it first seemed. And they've known about this upcoming exercise forever, as you pointed out, Shepard, and they'd even said they didn't care. So if they're now going back to an earlier complaint, it's because they're trying to use it for a purpose, either as a negotiating card or because they're just nervous about the entire process of détente and they want it to stop and just go back to where we were last year, which I would regret, but it would be typical of what's happened in the past.
Well, the North Koreans have now given the United States administration an instruction. How might our administration respond in such a way that it serves our interests?
Well, we have to keep doing military exercises in South Korea, as you well know, Shepard, and as any military officer in the United States will insist upon. I've done some writing over the years in which I've suggested with a colleague here, Bob Einhorn, that we could perhaps scale them back in size, that the size of the exercises is not crucial to military readiness. And if it really gives the North Koreans some anxiety, we could find a way to break the exercises up into smaller pieces. I think that's the most we could consider doing. And, you know, if that's good enough for them, I would encourage the Trump administration to think things through in those terms. But that may not be enough.
Michael O'Hanlon from Brookings, thank you as always.